Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever and whenever you may be listening to this, the most mediocre show on the internet, the Black and Blue Pod, another edition. We have a very special guest here. I am Matt McLaughlin, like I said, at your host as always. I am with a very, very special prospect. He's a Huntington Valley, PA native, went to LaSalle College High School, my alma mater as well, all Catholic. Even had a better career at Pitt, all ACC honors, 3 years in a row, one of the stalwarts in a great offensive line unit, Burlsworth Award winner for best college football player to start a career as a walk-on, the one and only Jimmy Morrissey. Jimmy, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Matt. That was a good intro.
Thank you. I like to prop up my guests a little bit, make them feel nice, break the ice a little bit. So how are you doing with COVID? How are things going?
Doing good. I'm down here in Florida where a lot of things are opened up. So it's nice living down here.
Not too bad. So we're going to get into your background a little bit, but just for right now, you're going through the draft combine process. How is that going so far? And, can you walk me through that as someone who only played grade school football, never made it that far into the football realm?
Sure. So finish your season. I finished my season, I think December 10th. I came down here December 14th, worked out for 10 days. They closed the facility for Christmas. And then I came back first week of January. And then I've been down here ever since. We work out 6 times a week. All of our meals are pretty much catered for us. And yeah, right now I was training for the combine, but the combine got canceled. And now I'm just training for my pro day, which is March 17th.
There you go. Be on the lookout.
Back at Pittsburgh, and then wait for a call for the draft.
So let's jump into your background now. You grew up Huntington Valley, like Glenside area. I'm from Abington, PA. What led to, were you always interested in, was football always in your house, basically?
It was, yes. Yeah. So I'm the only boy, but my dad played. He went to LaSalle actually also.
Oh, okay.
He played at LaSalle. He never played in college. My uncle played at LaSalle. He did play in college for a little while, but at Del Valle. And then I, just grew up playing football. I went to Anchele, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep.
And then I just played all the way through LaSalle and fell in love with the game ever since I was a little kid.
So what made you decide, now this is very complimentary, what made you decide I want to ram full speed ahead at 80 miles per hour, just banging shoulder pads and heads? What made you decide offensive line was your position?
Well, first off, I can't run 80 miles per hour. anybody that can run 80 miles per hour, I'm cutting them.
Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill definitely could.
Yeah, if I had to pick up Tyreek Hill on a blitz, I'm diving at his knees. I'm not hitting him head-on collision. No, I fell in love with the game as a young child. It was tough, but all my best friends played, and it's an extremely grueling game, and you got to put in a lot of hard work, but just as hard, and as long as those practices can be, the games and the experiences you have are so much more rewarding than the downs. Really, the highs really outweigh the lows a lot more. And I think it's the best sport in the world. I'm biased, but I think it's the ultimate team sport where you have to rely on, other guys to do their jobs. And it really strengthens relationships and friendships. And all my best friends, ever since I was a little kid, all come from the game of football. So I really love it. And hopefully I'm going to be playing for a long time.
So yeah, you're clearly on the right track, racking up a lot of awards. But so did your dad and your uncle push you towards offensive line? I'm because I'm really interested as someone who I watch football. Obviously I would probably get broken in half in a real game. What was it about center? Was it just, being sort of the quarterback for the offensive line and just kind of having that ability to coordinate where your line mates are going? I'm just really interested in that decision of going to center at the collegiate level.
Yeah. So my dad never pushed me to any position. My dad was a really supportive father. So was my mom. It's just sign me up for a sport and let the coaches handle everything, and they just
Yeah.
dropped me off at practice. And other than that, they just want to make sure I was trying my hardest. But I was a big kid growing up, and so naturally gravitated to the offensive line. Um, and then from there in high school is when I really started to play center. So, to play center, you have to have a good understanding of the game. You have to be able to lead guys on the O line, and it was a role that I was able to grow into thanks to the coaches and my experience at LaSalle, and the way I was brought up. To be a leader and take accountability for myself and others. And so I credit my coaches at LaSalle for really developing me in that position. And then ultimately, once you kind of it sounds kind of I don't know, like power hungry or whatever, but like once you get that kind of responsibility and like you want to have more of it, and the wins feel that much better and the losses hurt that much harder too. But I love the center position. I love the responsibility put on me to make the right calls for my guards and tackles. Like I said, they're my best friends and guys who I deeply care about. And my quarterback is someone, I love him like a brother. So when he gets hit or when we don't make the right block, I take it very personal. And I think the center position allows you to take on a lot of that responsibility. And luckily I've been able to grow in it.
So I think that's really interesting. A couple of points you mentioned there. LaSalle specifically produced some great athletes, but above all, some great men. And that's not me as a biased person who went there. Like it's clearly the proof is in the pudding. Like the resume speaks for itself. Some of the people who've come out of that institution. You mentioned the coaching staff. Was it the coaching staff specifically? Was it the combination of the coaching staff and the academics and the other opportunities outside of just football and school?
No doubt about it. I mean, I got Coach Dom, Coach Schmidt, Coach Stein, Coach Gordon, all those guys developed me as a football player. But, the school itself, I completely agree with you. I think it's the greatest high school in the world. And that's really why I hit you back on Instagram, because you say you went to LaSalle.
Hey, it's always, I just want to say it was very satisfying to get someone with a blue check to hit me back. That was a bucket list item right there.
Yeah, no, I love LaSalle. I think they do a fantastic job of, transforming, boys into men, and they have that slogan, boys will be boys, but LaSalle boys will be gentlemen. And I mean, I'm sure you'll get made fun of. I had a sign in my dorm everywhere I lived in college. I kept it in my room. And people can call it corny or whatever they want, but it's true. And I think LaSalle it's a special place, and it's made me the man I am today. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure my son or sons go there when they get older.
So were you teammates with Zaire Franklin, or was he? So what was that? What were those practices like? I mean, for those who may not be aware, Zaire is currently on the Indianapolis Colts as a linebacker. What were those practices like going up against him and even that defensive unit that was, I'm sure, just as equally as talented?
Yeah, so I was actually a freshman and sophomore his senior year, and I didn't start at LaSalle until my junior year. So I wasn't a starter going against Zaire. I always remembered him being a heck of a football player and a really good leader. He played hard and he was extremely talented. So I really don't remember much of the practices when I was younger in high school, but I can tell you I got to go against him once in college, which was a fun time. I was a redshirt freshman and he was a true senior. And unfortunately, we lost. That was the only time I've ever lost to Syracuse. Was that year, Zaire senior year. But it's great to play against another LaSalle guy, and going back to how great LaSalle is. Zaire is a gentleman. He's a perfect role model for younger age.
And again, I know we're going to keep harping on LaSalle. This will be the last time that we mention it. But
this is a LaSalle podcast, huh?
I know. It's not trying to be. I'm not trying to be, but it's turning in that way. But just to give people an idea, Zaire Franklin, linebacker for the Colts, Sean McDermott, the head coach for the Buffalo Bills, LaSalle grad. Yourself, you're no slouch in the achievement department either. There's a wide variety of people, and that's just in the sports realm. But let's move on to your college career. You were extremely durable, extremely reliable when it came to, you were always going to be on that line. you win out the starting center job your freshman year. What was it like getting that news that you were going to start right away as a redshirt freshman?
Yeah, so I redshirted my first year, and then once I won the starting job my redshirt freshman year, it was a dream come true. It's what I set my goals to start that year, and I knew that everything was starting to align. All my goals were achievable at this point, but I knew it was just the tip of the iceberg. And if I wanted to get to where I needed to be, I needed to continue that level of work that I had. And fortunately, I was able to sustain it and improve it throughout those 4.5 years at Pitt. And that goes back to, I love the University of Pittsburgh and their program there and the coaches I've had. They have a really good environment to harbor hard work. And I think they do a great job. But, it was especially started a place like Pitt where they have, such a deep history at the offensive line position. It was a great achievement to be a starter from that young.
Definitely. And eventually you're protecting a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, who can launch the ball. He can dice you up with the intermediate routes. He's truly a great prospect, and he's actually returning his first senior year this upcoming season. But you eventually it was your ankle, correct? Your sophomore year?
Yeah, 2018.
So take me through that, going from all of a sudden towards the end of the season, you injure your ankle, and then it's like your season's done. We're going to have to go into rehab. Tell me what that process was like, going from rehab to you reestablish yourself and even come back better than ever the next season.
Yeah, it was tough. It was probably my lowest of lows in college. I started, I think it would have been 12. It would have been 23 games straight. And the game I broke it was actually against Wake Forest, November 17th. We clinched the Coastal Division. And we had a shot, we were going to the championship against Clemson. So I everything I worked towards that all off season, like my number. So going into my freshman year, my goal was, get the starting job, get the starting job, get the starting job. And then finally, once I had the starting job, it was, let's win the championship, beat Clemson. That's all I had ingrained in my mind. And then like November 17th, it was the last offensive play of the game. And I fractured my ankle, and, it took me out, crushed all my dreams right then and there. So it was devastating because that defensive line that year for Clemson they had 3 first-round picks and 1 second-round pick. So, you're not going to see a defensive line like that in college for years to come. So I thought, I'd get to that game, me being eager, and, thinking how I think, we're going to beat Clemson. I'm going to have a hell of a game against them. I'm going to put my name on the map. Next year, I'm going to come back even better, have a better year. We're going to go all the way. Then we're going to win every game. And then I'm going to be out and go to the NFL. And that's really, the picture I painted in my mind, and fracturing that ankle kind of destroyed everything. But it's also, it's been a blessing in disguise, because it made me have a lot greater appreciation for the game of football, for my teammates and for my family too, and how much I appreciate not only the game of football, but life. And it recentered me and brought me back down. It humbled me for sure. And I think, injuries in football are one of the saddest things. It is the saddest thing besides losing a game, but there's so many lessons in it too. So I'm glad that I learned a lot from that experience, and I wouldn't change a thing in my college experience. So it's made me a lot better football player.
I think that's really rare, and that's very rare for a player to hear, say, hey, I would go through an injury again, because the lessons that come out of that are incredible and can't necessarily be estimated in any way.
Oh, no, I'm not going through an injury again. I'm just saying
you said you wouldn't change it. You said you wouldn't change it. That's just me.
But I don't want to go through it again.
But I'm just saying, if you could, you would have the similar experience.
Yeah, I know.
That's my fault. Consider that first time a media member twisted your words. That's
It wouldn't be first.
I'm sure. So you come back junior year, hit the ground running. What was it like finally getting back onto the field and finally being back with your teammates on the gridiron, finally getting a chance to play competitively again?
It was awesome. I was back to being normal, and it was 2019. I ended up being first team All ACC that year. I had a pretty good season myself, but the team, we fell short, so that was disappointing. We didn't have a good year, but I was just back. I was happy to be back and healthy. I wish we could have won more games, but I was very fortunate that I was back and healthy. And like I said, the injury made me a lot better player, and it made me a better person also.
So was there anything specifically in like your style of play, like footwork or technique? Was there anything like that you took away from that where it was like, oh, if I fix that, my play's just going to go like through the roof? Or was it like an all around improvement process?
It was all around. It was more like the intangible stuff, not taking any day for granted, not being, which I didn't beforehand, but it made me appreciate the little things a lot much more than, something I may have overlooked in the past. And, it made those summer camp grind days like more enjoyable, where I'm like, you know what? I only have 2 more camps, 1 more camp maybe left in me in college. Like, let's just enjoy this. Like 6 months ago, or however long, I think it was 9 months ago, my first camp in 2019, I was in a surgery room, feeling in pure agony and pain. And now I'm out here playing football. Like, let's get it together. So
what is Coach Narduzzi like? I feel like he's a guy that's very interesting. What's he like on game day? Is he like a Mike McCarthy smashing watermelons type of guy, or is he like more cerebral, just like quiet, or like let's get the job done?
Coach Narduzzi, if I had a word to describe him, it would be passionate. He loves his players. He loves the game of football. He loves Pitt. And he's fun to play for. I love Coach Deuce. He gets into the games just as much as we do. And same with practices. He's, an honest coach, which is, it's sometimes hard to come by. Coach has always kept his word with me. He's always been a, upstanding guy. I loved playing for him, and I'm glad, there was stability at that position for my entire career at Pitt, which you don't see a lot in Power 5 either. So I love Coach Narduzzi. I'm extremely grateful for him and the opportunity he gave me.
So were there any memorable like pregame speeches that you remember specifically, or because
that's what you're going for right here?
That's a little bit what I'm going for. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I'm going there for. If
no,
not,
I think Coach Narduzzi, the thing that I'm game day stuff would be just his interaction with the refs. If you watch Pitt games, he's not afraid to speak his mind to the refs. So I don't have any sound bites for you. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're good. It's very rare. Hey, I'm grateful that you took the time to talk to me. But now, last year going into Pitt's senior year, you get invited to the Senior Bowl. You win the Burlsworth Award. First, take me through what was the Senior Bowl like experience, especially this year in the middle of the pandemic, obviously, yada, yada, yada. And you also had 3 teammates who were along on the opposite side of the Senior Bowl. What was it like going through that process? Was it everything that you dreamed, or was it like a little bit strange trying to maneuver around everything with like health protocols and stuff like that?
Yeah, it wasn't anything I dreamed of at all. I actually got invited the night before the game, or the day before the game. So I didn't practice all week.
Nice.
I got a late invitation. So I showed up the day before, got my COVID test, learned a playbook in a night, and then played 2 quarters at guard and 1 quarter at center. So nothing that, I'm not too familiar with. So it was a fantastic experience though. Even though it wasn't how I dreamt of and wanted it to go, it was a fantastic experience, and I was really happy, and it was fun to go against my teammates too. And we got a good picture at the end.
Of course, you gotta post the IG flick. We gotta get this shit popping. Gotta get it popping. So what was it? So going from the Senior Bowl to now the Burlsworth Award, what was that like getting that news? And an award that is one of the most prestigious awards outside of the Heisman. It probably is the most prestigious outside of the Heisman because that shows the dedication to football, the dedication to your teammates, etc. What was receiving that news like as the guy who got picked out of so many people who started off as walk-ons? Now you reach the pinnacle of a guy who can say like, "Hey, this is my story. No matter whether you start as a walk-on, you can still reach the top of your game."
It was an incredible honor. It was a goal of mine to win that award, and it was a huge achievement just because the experience I had at Pitt, and I'm very fortunate for all the coaches and the entire program and my teammates for everything they've helped me accomplish and the opportunities they've given me. But it was some nice recognition at the end of my career, because you go into being a walk on, you get no recognition at all. And so to finally go from a guy who was rejected hundreds of times by various schools and only given 3 partial scholarships to FCS schools, it was a nice cherry on the top, for my career, the way to end it. And I loved it. It's a great award to be up there with some of the names that have won it. So I'm very humbled to win that award.
So let's look towards the future. Obviously, the draft is coming up. What are the plans? What are we trying to improve? Where can we hone our sword? Iron sharpens iron. All the good cliches. Like, what are you looking at specifically in your game to try and display as you're talking to teams? You don't have to name teams specifically, obviously, but talking to teams and trying to get through that process and elevate your stock as much as possible.
Right now is pretty much like a holistic approach. Just try to get your body as good as it possibly can be, get as strong and as fast as you possibly can be, and as healthy. That's a big thing. I'm very fortunate. I came out of my senior year healthy. So just trying to make myself even more flexible and mobile than I ever was going into my rookie season. And then hone in really on my football IQ and learn more about the game of football. I'm trying to learn, new stuff every night. And I'm trying to make sure that I mastered my previous offense. So when I get into these combine interview rooms with coaches, any question they have, I can just rattle off real quick to them. But I think, there's not one specific thing I'm working on. It's everything. I'm doing technique every week. I'm working out, I'm running, I'm studying every night, watching film. So like I said, it's a holistic approach right now. And then once I get a team, then it'll really turn into what kind of, offense they run and studying their playbook.
So are you looking at any specific like tapes of specific players? I can't talk there. As an Eagles fan, to Jason Kelsey, or you just had the Marshall Yanda, he retired previous to this past season. Like, are there any specific offensive linemen there you're looking at trying to model your game after?
I love Jason Kelsey. I watch him all the time. Ever since I was a young college player, I loved watching his tape because he was a walk-on. He plays at Philly, obviously. So relatively the same size. So I was a big fan of him. But yeah, I watch my games too, just to, self-evaluation is very important at this level. So trying to see the things that I can improve on. But then, yeah, I like to watch Jason Kelsey a lot. I like to watch JC Treader. I just started watching Cleveland Browns center.
Yep.
And Corey Lindsley, the Packers center. Those are my 3 guys I've been watching right now.
Not bad players to choose from, but let's go off the beaten path a little bit. We talk too much about football. So are you a big Netflix guy, a big TV guy? Like what type of TV are you turning on late at night?
Yeah. I haven't, I think the last show I was into was it was on Hulu. It's called Lost.
Wasn't that old? Wasn't that like
it's a very old show. I watched it because Kenny Pickett watched it and he was like, and I just remember him talking about it. I was just scrolling through one day and I think it had like 10 seasons or so. It had a ridiculous amount of shows. And I was like, you know what, I'll just watch it. And it was a good time killer for when I was bored. But my favorite Netflix show would have to be Peaky Blinders.
Oh, yes.
Or the Office before the Office got taken.
And before the last 2 seasons of The Office, I watched the last 2 and I was like, why am I subjecting myself to this? But the Peaky Blinders is a great choice. I love the Peaky Blinders. I'm so excited. They're coming out with a movie. I'm so hyped for that. But Kenny Pickett, all respect. I respect him. He's a great quarterback. He does look like a guy who could go on Lost and like survive. Like he just looks like a guy who knows his way around an island once in a while.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm not taking Kenny with me to an island. That dude loves Uber Eats.
You know better than me. I'm just going off sheer appearance.
No, he's a big DoorDash guy. I'm not.
He's a big takeout Uber Eats kind of guy.
Exactly.
They're not making it.
He'd be good for entertainment for sure.
Ah, okay. Hey, you need the court jester once in a while. You need some humor every now and then. So what kind of music you like? What are we going to on the game day? Are we going to a specific artist, song? Like what are we doing to get locked in?
Yeah, game day I've actually gotten away from music. I just try to, be in the present. And I've gotten away from, putting earbuds in on game day or
All right, well, I just All right, well, Zoom just decided to break on me for some reason.
no worries.
So you were saying
about the music?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I listened to it all.
All right, well, I'll scratch that. You kind of cut out there a little bit towards the end. Can you just say something for me? No, I can't hear you. Hang on. Maybe be on my end. Let me try something. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Let me see if this works.
Matt.
There we go.
Good.
There we go. Yes.
Cool.
Gotta love Zoom. I fucking hate the shit. I hate it so much. All right. Technical difficulties aside, do you believe in aliens? Because I'm a big believer in aliens.
I believe in aliens.
Did you watch do you have HBO Max?
I do not have HBO Max.
Heaven's Gate. I started watching the documentary on like the Heaven's Gate cult. Weirdest stuff I've ever seen in my life. But I'm low key like believing them. I'm watching this like, wait, maybe they're right. Like, why am I starting to believe these people?
You might be joining the cult.
No, they're recruiting me. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
That wouldn't be too far out there. You already go to Penn State.
It's the same thing. Penn State, same thing in the English language. Hey,
I had to throw a shot in there.
No, of course. I'm just saying the hail to Pitt thing is not so far off from the Penn State we are. I will say that. But I like to end my interviews with a little segment I like to call Off the Dome. 5 lightning round questions. You got 30 seconds on the clock to answer them as quickly as possible. Sound good?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let me just pull the stopwatch. All right, here we go. And better flow, Kenny Pickett or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor. Kenny's is just starting.
There you go. Better pick quarterback, Kenny Pickett or Dan Marino?
Dan Marino, but Kenny has another season.
Fair enough.
So stay tuned. Kenny is a hell of a player. I expect big things from him.
I was very excited from what I saw from Kenny last season. I hope he succeeds and does very well. Favorite documentary that you've watched recently? Or I should say, let me rephrase that. Last Dance, yes or no? Did you enjoy it?
I was just gonna say Last Dance was my favorite documentary.
Yeah, there you go. So speaking of Last Dance, start cutter bench, Jordan, LeBron, or Kobe?
Start cut bench. Starting LeBron, benching Jordan, cutting Kobe.
Wow, I've not heard that one. That is an interesting combination. All right, so better coach Narduzzi or Coach Phil Jackson? I'll just throw Phil Jackson in there. Who would you rather be coached by?
Narduzzi.
Fuck. Can't do it.
Coach, I don't know. I don't know if Phil Jackson knows anything about football.
He knows about some wild other shit. That's for damn sure. But thank you, Jimmy. Before I finish, can I officially call you a friend of the show? Bet. I'll take that. All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Like, share, subscribe, follow, share, whatever. Do all that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in.